The probably not the result that you're looking for. The late goal to tie it up. Can you sum up the feeling in the locker room and what happened in those last 20 minutes?
Yeah, I think closing out games, you just have to be a little smarter. Not lose it as fast, foul guys. Plenty of ways we can slow that game down towards the end, but I don't want the end of this game and the emotions to spoil what's been a fantastic couple of weeks for us. The officiating tonight didn't do a good job of calming the emotions down. I just don't think that creating chaos is the job of a referee. Is to protect players first and foremost. And from my opinion, they didn't do their job today.
I believe in crosses coming out of the right side. Is this any reflection on not having Aaron and, of course, a big loss for you guys?
No, absolutely not. I'll stop you there. Absolutely not. It's just two plays. I wouldn't try to draw a conclusion from two plays. One of them, you're a guy less. It's at the end of the game. It's do or die. There's a center back in the box. So that has nothing to do with anything tactical, personnel, absolutely nothing. It's just two plays that are isolated and that are both very different too.
What is going on? Section 128 is in the air. Eric Holtron here with me, my co-host. Sorry, I had a little bit of a mic issue. It's doing well. Eric, good to see you, my man. How are you doing today? We opened up with Steve Cherundolo's words, which were pretty impressive if you watched the game, what he had to say. So I go directly to you, my friend. How you feeling after what was, a very disappointing end of the El Trafico, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great today. I've had a little time to recover from that. I'll just call it a debacle.
Okay.
At the end, man. Well, I'll get into specifics, but it really, as Trundle, he did point out in an interview, and I've always had a lot of issues with how he's a bit cagey on them, but we did have a great run going up to that game. And man, what a sour taste to leave in the mouth after basically one of our best victories of the year against Minnesota, and then coming back and just against a Carson team that we should just be thrashing because they're awful.
Yes, my friend, they are not very good, but they did have some things that they showed that we could not stop. For the first time after 3 games, we got scored not only once, not only twice, but 3 times. The game final tally was 3-3. We'll break down that game, which is, of course, the highlight of the week for LAFC. But as you heard Steve Cherundolo, he's content with where the team is after 2 weeks. We always say, let's not measure the team after 1 game. But, the overall sentiment about LAFC, you started talking, seems positive. I have to say, it's been good. It's been bad with this team. Now we have what we call the breaking news here on Section 28. We have to address the fact that Denis Bouanga just expressed a desire to leave MLS and maybe play in Liga MX. We have to lead with that story. He's been really the only, I would say, marquee player. Maybe you can say something about Nathan Ordaz. But what did you think of the news that just came out today during MLS All-Star that Denis Bouanga might be on his way out and the destination being Club America?
I think, there's a lot of details that we're going to need to know to really understand like what kind of deal this is. But for me, I am pretty pragmatic and neutral about it. I think if it's a good deal, you take the good deal and you let it go, and if it's not a good deal, we keep him. I mean, Denis is our big goal scorer right now. And there's so many question marks as to what this team is going to look like come next season, come with a new coach, which will be a whole nother topic, I'm sure, that we'll get into later. But, I'm not devastated if Denis moves. At his age, he's on the wrong side of 30 at this point, and everybody slows down. Now, as I've said, the one thing that I think Denis doesn't get enough credit for is he's a DP that seems to never get injured, that you can always play,
Yes.
You need those DPs on the field at all times, and Denis is always on the field. So,
Yes.
You can end up getting a DP that gets hurt half of the time, and you lose a lot of effectiveness, for what I don't like about his play and how I feel sometimes he doesn't vibe correctly with the team. in a lot of ways he also does, So I think it would be right now it would be a tough loss for LAFC if they didn't have somebody really solid coming in to back him up.
Yeah, and then that's kind of the idea. I just tweeted behind before the show that really behind his move, there's going to be trickle-down effects with that, which means it automatically opens up a DP. Why Clube America makes sense to me, because Javairô Dilrosun seems to be working out. What I've seen from him in this week, these couple weeks, he seemed to have kind of changed the way this attack looks. It's not as predictable. I like his runs that he's starting, even though he's a very wide kind of player. I like what I see from Javairô. So it makes it from, if we can get Javairô plus a bunch of money, Eric, do you think that's a good deal, right? Understanding that, A, Denis, like you said, not getting any younger, and B, his contract is decaying. So you either going to have to renew this guy and keep him here, which I would love to see him continue his career at a LAFC, or you have to sell him for a profit, which at this point, you probably can get the top of the market for him. So what would you do if you are JT, understanding that Dilrosun's already here and he's doing a decent job?
I mean, number one, I think it just comes down to how much money can you get, for Denis, I think anything.
Yeah, let's put a number in there then. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8 million plus. 8 million plus, like they can't really turn that down, I think. If the number's closer to 4, it's a little crazy. And I see Denise in the chat saying the 12 million is the minimum. I'll take 12 million you take.
Well, maybe it's 8 million plus Dilrosun coming to play for us, right? So this is what I'm talking about. It makes it more palatable of a deal.
Look, 12 million and Denis at this point, I got to look up his age. But he is.
Who cares what his age is? Because he's going to kick ass for the next couple seasons. Like, you know what I mean? So I think while his age matters,
he's still
because
30.
it matters from a point.
He's still 30.
Yeah, he's a very young guy, man. For the type of explosion we're seeing from him, I absolutely have no problem with him playing until he's 32. He's kind of like a Gignac kind of player. He can do a lot of damage in Liga MX. Now, I think what's interesting is that there's no lot of chatter coming out of anything outside of Mexico. If you saw the headline of what we're reading and we're talking about, it did mention Brazil as a secondary destination for him because he mentioned the Brazilian league is up to par. So I have my guys at Territorio MLS kind of doing some research to see would he fit in any roster here in Brazil. I know you know some of the teams here. What is the possibility, let's just play around, that he ends up in a league like Brazil? He seems to be keen on it and open to it. Yeah, no,
I think there's rosters he would fit in, but I'm not sure if he would hit the top tier of teams, I think looking at him at like a Palmeiras or a Flamengo, I'm not so sure. I think he walks onto Corinthians and starts. I think like a
That's my worst nightmare, Eric.
Yeah, look, the quality of wingers. What do you think? Like Tricolor, do you think he walks? Is he an automatic starter on Tricolor?
Yeah, that's one place I was gonna say, and we had a lot of people there are hurt right now. I think Jonathan Caleri's not playing, which is basically our Denis Bouanga. Oscar just got announced as going to be 8 weeks out. So you talk about something that I always thought of as that motherfucker is reliable. Denis Bouanga is the most reliable player in Major League Soccer. I'll say it. Maybe Evander's up there with him, but Messi, he's got to sit games, and the list goes on from there. Diego Luna, he's probably up there, but he's much, much younger. So at 30, to get that kind of production out of this guy, to get this kind of consistency, showing up every game, giving your team 85, 90 minutes, he was not happy, by the way, he left the Carson game. He could have gone 95 in this game.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he would be a great addition to any roster in Brazil, maybe outside of Flamengo, right? Just because of how stacked they are. Imagine him at Santos with Neymar. That would be fun.
I don't think he'd fit into Palmeiras either. I think Atlético Mineirão, they're pretty loaded up. They have Rony playing on the left wing, and he's a little different style. But I think on like a Grêmio, he would do good. Internacional would be like a no-brainer.
Oh shit! Reunion. Imagine him with Christian Oliveira at Grêmio, boss. That would be wild.
Yeah, but
Who the fuck wants to live in southern Brazil, man? If you want to go to Brazil, you got to go to São Paulo and Rio. I think the teams there are much more prestigious. You know, the cities, you know the areas.
I don't see him cutting the Fluminense roster. I think I could see Vasco would probably be about the best team that he could end up on there. But yeah, I mean, Bragantino, I could see. I mean, I'd say every Brazilian team except for maybe 5 or 6 of them he walks onto. You know, the other ones he's going to be fighting hard for a spot and may not win the battle.
Yeah, well, but I still think he's got enough explosion and things to be a starter in Brasileirão. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, he's a physical guy.
In a non-Palmeiras. And Palmeiras might be keen on bringing him since they brought Facundo Torres, maybe another MLS guy to shake things up. Corinthians, maybe with the Memphis leaving and him coming in, that would be an interesting move. By the way, we love talking Brasileiro here. We have a segment basically on our show, Brasileirão USA, and this is going to be this one for this week. Since Denis Bouanga to Brazil is a possibility, the Clube America homers, however, are saying done deal. It's over. He's going there, and as we said it, just go to bring us back.
Yes, because they're never wrong about anything.
They're never wrong. Yeah, no, done deal. You know, the Liga MX reporters are usually on it, and in this case, they're saying it's on, and he's going there. Now, I do believe it's a great fit because of the relationship that we've already seemed to have with them and the fact that Dilrosun is doing really well. Who knows? Maybe we get another player out of this. But look, man, we got to move on. If Denis stays, I'm with you. I'm not jumping off a bridge if he leaves, though.
We did gloss over Dilrosun a bit. Now, you know what? You mentioned part of the deal. What if he comes here? You know, and I think that one gets a little trickier. And for me, also, it really depends on what is the contract for Dilrosun? You know, is he going to be a DP? I think Dilrosun on a DP contract starts to get a little trickier. You know, I think if he was on a high TAM even, it makes a lot more sense because he's had some nice moments, some good finishing, good passing. You know, he's a player also that gets back on the wing, and that's always something important as a guy who come back in defense. He's tactically very sound, but does he have that, as the French would say, that je ne sais quoi to really, really hit you on that DP deal and you be happy about it? You know, that's the one thing I'm not so sure about. Like, as a DP, I'm kind of on the fence, but as a TAM, for sure, I like him. You know, I'm still kind of unsure where that leaves David Martinez, who, again, needs minutes. So
we're not going to have to talk about him because it's not looking good for him when you're coming in to just clean up garbage minutes. And then you're in the center of something that leads to an adverse result to your team. You know, plus minuses matter in that, right? That's a stat against you. You were on the field when the goals happen, when the X goal turn against you. These are stats people will look at. You know, are you a winner when you're in there? Are you helping your team win on the collective side of things? That does matter from a stat gathering standpoint, and David Martinez is unfortunately not there. Another one that, again, I don't want to turn this into a criticism of the players, but another one that didn't suit didn't fit the bill, I would say, very well was Smoliakov. That was basically the left back assigned to Cuevas on that side, and it gave him a ton of space to cross as much as he wants, you know. So I didn't look at the game as much as I needed for this particular part of the game, but those crosses were coming in way too easy into the box. We watched the goals before we break down Carson, but the reality is, you know, the subs that were made by the coaches were horrible for that game, and they claim that that's all we got, right? Where we can break it down a little bit more and say, no, maybe you just deployed them wrong at the wrong time and you tried something and didn't work out. But man, I'm so sorry. I really want to talk Carson, but what we do have to do first is talk about the Minnesota win, because as Dolo said in the beginning of his press conference, you know, by yours truly, by the way, you know, directed and edited by me, you know, I basically asked him, hey, you know, what's up? How was the mood in the locker room? You guys pissed? What's up? The last 20 minutes were insane. And he's like, we don't want to spoil the last 2 weeks. They've been great, right? So, Eric, I just go to you. Minnesota, middle of the week. I called it a loss. I don't usually call losses on the pod. I called it an 0-2 loss. We go in there and shut them down for the third time. Lloris with a clean sheet. tell me what you thought of that game and what it meant to get that first win at Minnesota. And I know it's special to you since you're from there.
Yeah. No, and actually, I believe
Special.
that game was it was the third clean sheet in a row.
Third clean sheet in a row for
I
Lloris.
also called this a loss. I said it was going to be a 3-1 loss, and I was a little bit like, I don't even know where this goal is going to come from. But, it was an interesting game. There was something that I can't in my memory remember seeing, which was Minnesota wins the first kickoff. We knew they were a counterattacking team. We talked about it. And the first thing they did was boot the ball out of bounds and basically just give it to LAFC, which, funny enough, I saw us do on the opening kickoff to Carson, which I've never seen us do either. So these are kind of weird little rabbit hole stats, but I did notice both of these things. So, and Minnesota very clearly wanted to give us possession this game. And I think there's a lot of parallels to this. And we took possession, and I thought that this game was coached very well by Cherundolo. We kind of worked our way. We kind of stole a goal in that game. It was that penalty kick that was on the set piece of basically one of the guys running for the ball got tackled. Tillman, I believe, got tackled in the box, going for a pretty playable ball, and it got called, and it was a correct call. And correct. So from there, we got the goal, and we never really looked back. And Minnesota conceding possession to us because they have very dangerous counterattackers, big, fast, physical guys. And I wasn't sure with long out how we were going to manage that. So basically, Cherundolo had us play a whole bunch of possession that game, and he back and forth. We went with the 5 in the back, but he used the wing backs to hold possession, and it was kind of those excuse me. They talk about the possession with a purpose, and it wasn't really possession with a purpose. We just kind of moved the ball back and forth. We kept safe passes, and we just kept Minnesota from taking the ball. They had a couple counterattacking opportunities, but they weren't able to do much with it. And so that was that. And for me, predicting how do we play this game, I thought we go for 3 midfielders. And I had mentioned that, they really want to hold possession against Minnesota and prevent the turnovers because Minnesota is going to be looking to spring on the counter presses and the counterattacks. And we basically just held a boring possession all game. We just moved the ball back and forth, no high-risk passes, and we just kind of salted the game away like that. And I thought it was quite brilliant, and I think it was one of the better coached Dolo games we've seen this season. And this is from somebody who's been pretty critical of Dolo this season.
Yeah, I know. We have been, and you have been very vocal about it. We have the starting lineup there. It's something that I said last Monday. I was like, hey, I wish we bring this 5 back or 3 back with Palencia as one of the center backs to help out. I think this is a really good formation for us. And we did. We ended up with Tafari between Segura and Palencia, and then Hollins and then Smolyakov getting the start. I was surprised not to see a repeat of this particular starting lineup against the Galaxy, but it told me that this is basically a rotation, right? And you saw that basically in the front when we don't have Nathan Ordaz, which is now I would consider our second best player outside of Denis, right? And, if you look at this lineup, it's very defensive in nature. You have 2 guys that are defensive midfielders, and you have a pressing 9, and then Dilrosun and Bouanga running around. I like it, but it's extremely defensive. But it worked, like you said. Possession 55-45 for that game. LAFC dominated it. Yeah, 55-45 on our behalf, which is a huge contrast from the Carson game once again. Expected goals, 2.03 for LAFC, so we actually undershot our ex goals, whereas Lloris did what he needed to, but there was not a lot of threat against him. They ended up with 0.45. So I agree with you, man. The coaching staff was ready for this game, and it seems like they underestimated Carson a little bit, do you think? After such a dominant win against top of the conference, right? Is this just a little bit of an oversight, or was it maybe fatigue that kind of drove the team not to look so sharp like they did in the middle of the week? So let's just kind of start transitioning here.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know why, and looking at this and going into it, like I thought that we were going to try to hold way more possession against Carson. And especially when we went up 2-0 and we still seemed happy to kind of play this counter press. And like at that point, because, one of the big weaknesses of Carson is with no Ricky Pooch, like they really have trouble controlling the midfield. And we have, compared to other MLS teams, we have a pretty good midfield. And so, we had the lineup and the personnel to, once we went up, especially just to really hold the ball and just kind of hold the ball and salt that game away, just like we did against Minnesota. But it kind of didn't happen. They kind of kept the same tactics they did, and it led to kind of a boneheaded Hollingshead handball in the box, and and then the game started getting close again, and we just didn't really recover from that at all. And that was, like I said, when we took that lead, we should have kind of switched it up. We didn't need to continue like that, and they did, and especially when what they did with the possession worked so well against Minnesota to kind of just like continue to let Carson hold possession like that, minus Aaron Long and all that. I think it was a little bit arrogant, and it was just not the time or place for that.
Arrogant is a great word, and it's been kind of a trait of Cherundolo and his presses after he loses, and there was a little bit of arrogance in his answer. I believe the second part of his answer, the second question that I had, which was, hey, how much was Aaron Long missing a problem for you today? And he's just like, let me just stop you right there. And it wasn't at all. We had a center back in there. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you feel that not having Aaron Long there was the difference maker? And if he was there, we would have just completely plowed him. And we are now seeing, outside of the anomaly game that was the midweek game, right? It's the first game. We had a different look. But is this the LAFC that we're now going to see week in, week out, and 2-3 goals against, and, not really dominant in possession?
I think absolutely missing Aaron Long really hurt us. There's no way it can't, because, he's been the captain of our team. His, his one-on-one tackles are amazing. And I think he also, I think positionally just helps the team. He helps Eddie with Eddie in and Tafari. I think Tafari is new enough to the system that Eddie kind of had to cheat more towards the middle to make sure that he was there to provide assistance, instead of, if Long was there, he has the confidence, he's got it, and he can start cheating out left and kind of help us on the sideline. So I think Eddie, in a way, kind of got stuck and it isolated us out on the wings. I don't blame Cherundolo for that answer at all, because I think for a coach, you need to have confidence in your players. It's his locker room and it's his guys. And if he's going to basically say, yeah, it really hurt us to have Aaron Long out there, like, it's kind of a direct dig at Tafari, and you need Tafari out there. You can't have the coach basically like throwing out confidence in it, whether he believed that answer he gave you or not. I think there's a bit of politicking there, and a bit of, it's a bit of a locker room answer, I think, more than it's an answer dissecting it for the media.
He's a starting center back, no matter whether we like it or not, because of the absences of now Marlon and Aaron Long. So we're going to have to ride with Tafari, which is why I felt that maybe you should have brought that 3 back much earlier. We're switching to the Carson game, so we're going to pause here right now. LAFC got 3 points on the road. I thought we were going to come out of this, maybe with 3 points, a win against Carson and loss against Minnesota. We came out of this with 4 out of 6, so I should be happy, but I still have to state it was a ridiculous sour taste in my mouth that I should have watched a win at home against a weak team, against your rival, and what I watched was a tie where the better team just was happy to sit back after the 75th minute and just take it. Literally take it up, where. I'm not going to say it, but you know what? It was just like that. And I'm like, why are they just letting Cuevas hang out? and our six, man. Like we had that little conversation offline. This system, the Dolo ball system, is made to tire the shit out of your six. And to me, Igor was just exhausted by 75th minute. Did you share the sentiment? Talk to me a little bit about the chaos of, or I think like what the fall, right? The fall of LAFC after the 75th minute. Like explain that to me. I put my focus on the sixth position, and I'm not saying Igor is the guy to blame, right? But it's just really hard for him to keep up 180 minutes, 2 times a week and be the guy that has to stop everything through the middle.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty young guy, and I think he can go at it.
He was exhausted, Eric. He was exhausted, bro.
He was. I think another thing is putting in Frankie Amaya for Delgado, I think hurt just as much or even worse.
I agree.
Because Delgado, he's got a bit of that, like, I brought him before last show, but Kellen Acosta, he kind of had a calming effect in the midfield because he could do enough things that, he can slow the play down, calm the ball. Amaya, from what I've seen, he's a much more creative, kind of more of a attacking-minded midfielder. I don't know if he's supposed to be a defensive midfield, regular or whatever, but Amaya, like, he tries to make those forward passes and those line-breaking passes. So, like, to me, he's really more of a playmaking midfielder than he is, like, a defensive or even all-around midfielder, which is more like Delgado is. So I feel like the Delgado substitution is really what hurt us the most.
Killed our team. I agree.
Totally. And, like, Igor, like I said, Igor's young, of course. Igor tends to get a little tired towards the end of the game, but that's pretty natural. But I think the thing is when Delgado is there, Delgado kind of comes back and can assist him with that. And Amaya wasn't really able to give any assistance to that. And I think Igor really just more got stranded out there with the midfield not playing as a unit anymore.
Yeah, so 2 things I think. One is like you don't put Igor if you're going to the 3-back. I think Igor and Tafari there, they just weren't gelling and they never played that close to each other. I just didn't think it was a great use of Igor's time at that time. Maybe should have brought him out and try to put this team a little bit more in its, even to burn time. I did not like Igor, and if you remember, we just put the starting lineup in Minnesota. He didn't start the game, So I don't blame Cherundolo for not starting him in Minnesota, and maybe that's the key. Maybe he doesn't start for us every game, and with him there, it's a little bit of at the end of the game, a little bit of a liability. But it is what it is with Igor. I'm not trying to bash on Igor. I just feel like he's being. If there's criticism to the Dolo system, I think it's how he utilizes his six. And if you're gonna grill this man like you did, and this one's on Thornton, like, why did you get rid of Eric Duenas? He was a free agent. You could have picked him up again, instead of letting me go to Houston and just sit there. Eric Duenas should have been re-signed as a depth player, especially if you had to backfill your midfield with Frankie fucking Amaya. Like, we don't know anything about this guy. Now he's got to come in and understand the Dolo system, where we knew that Eric Duenas gave us good minutes, right? So, again, what we let these guys go sometimes too easily, and we think we can just pick them up like it's basketball. I hate that in our roster management. How much are we missing the guys that were here before Eric? You know what I mean? And I just feel like we're just letting too many of these guys walk out, right? Murillo, like, he could have been a death play piece for us, right? Like, and now we don't have a center back. We had to go get Tafari. A little bit too much?
Yeah, no. I mean, look. What midfielder we let go last season that I really would have loved to stay this season?
Eduardo Tuesta, right? Which maybe is an expensive player, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? But still, it's still the same argument.
He was like $800K was his salary.
True that. Like, I'm so happy with Delgado that I forgot about Atuesta, but you're right about that too.
Yeah, but
that was a replacement.
He's a little different profile of a six, and that's kind of some of the things, we're talking like Martinez as well. He's a little more of a Martinez from his play in Venezuela. He was much more like a 10. Like, he's distributing the ball, he's passing the ball. Where he's set up on our team, I think they specifically are trying to discourage him from making a lot of those passes. They just want him to basically counterattack down the wing. And if you can make an assisting pass or cross to Dennis, great, but otherwise, like, there's not much of a buildup, and there's not much of a, letting the defense set up, pulling them out of position and creating overloads.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
and
Bullock
he's
did more of
really,
that than him.
and Martinez is a guy that creates overloads. Atuesta was a guy that creates overloads. Igor Jesus is also, if you look at how he duels guys when he has the ball, and how he also he'll bring in 2 or 3 defenders and then distribute the ball around them. Like, that's how you create overloads to attack, but it's also how you do more of a build-up play. And so, I think Igor is being used much more just like a 6 that sits in front of the center backs, and we lose a lot of the creativity which he has and we've seen. And a lot of our players, I think, when they show a lot of the creativity in the passing, it's just not what the system wants that he's running. He just wants counter pressing and quick attacks down the wings. And so we have some guys that don't really fit that system, and that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, man, it is what it is. 30 minutes of shows, so I'm gonna roll the goals here of the game, and we talk a little bit about the game itself, how it broke down, how LAFC had its chances to win, didn't close out, and then again, Cherundolo's comments on the fact that the team has a little bit of trouble closing games. Oh, really? What makes you think that, man? I'm just wondering what makes you think that. Let's watch the goals.
It skips past Yamane, and here's Bouanga in behind. Denis Bouanga, 1-0 LAFC, and he writes his place in El Trafico history. Up by Delgado, Lloris now. Dilrosun is on the far side. Lloris is crossed. He picks up the lone man. He scores. Segura, helped on by Bouanga for Lloris, and Bouanga is away, and he's carving straight through the LA Galaxy back line, and he scores a quite wonderful goal! It could be, it's Peck, it's Ramirez! Oh my goodness! Away. What a clearance! What a moment!
Woo! There it is. We're back. Man, what a sequence. So much to break down just on the 4 plays that we saw. We start with Denis Bouanga's first goal. What a bender, right? That bended like back in weirdness that you see changing directions. Just walk me through what you saw in that first goal to give LAFC the 1-0 lead on the first half.
Yeah, both of Denny's goals and the first one as well is, it's another example of one of my favorite sayings is that a good striker beats a good goalkeeper. And not that Carson has a good goalkeeper, but, this is one of those situations. Denny squared up the ball. He opened his hips, and he basically just he put the ball to a spot that the goalie could not reach at all. And that was that. And that's what a good finisher does.
Yeah, he's so powerful, so precise, and as we talked about, if you got him in full throttle, good luck. It's either a penalty or a red card, or you must have 3 guys on him to try to slow him down, because it's not going to happen. The second goal, also on the left flank, big play. I believe Nathan Ordaz runs the ball, perfect crossing to Javairô. What else can we say about Nate the Great that we haven't said on the show? Now on the left with the beautiful cross.
Yeah, and that sequence was great. I think leading up to it, I think it was Hollingshead. Hollingshead made a really great dribble and beat a defender to lay that ball up to Ordaz. It wasn't in there, but definitely, even though he quickly came after it with a handball, but Hollingshead gets a ton of credit for the hockey assist on that goal. But Ordaz, there's so much. I've had so much praise for him all season, going all the way back to preseason. I was just like, this kid looks like he's about to make a breakout this year. And at this point, it's just, I think, how much longer is he going to be with us? Hopefully a little longer, because, as you said, and I don't disagree, that he's, after Denis Bouanga, he's the next best player in the team. And what a thing to say with a hometown kid, our Encino man that born and raised, and from ball boy to ball buster here. So
Ball busters and El Trafico score. I mean, like this guy had a year like he scored against Messi, right? Like I mean, he's having the accolades. We're gonna do what we can to maybe talk to him, bring him on. Maybe not live, but talk to him. We can't promise anything, but it would be really good to talk to Nate about his journey at LAFC from just a guy that used to follow the team, and then we worked through the ranks to be in the big stage. What an example, what a story. We'll keep following him. But yeah, man, and then the third goal, which we already talked about, Denis just exploiting their defense. Vene is a wild man. Like, say what you want to say, and he's basically the opposite of Cherundolo, and you saw a little bit of his defensive antics in the game. He had his defense playing in the middle of the field, so anything that happened, and it resulted in an LAFC run around, and they would just run with the ball, and that's all we really had during the game. It was extremely dangerous, but you didn't see a lot of shots from LAFC, obviously because the possession was so low, right? So we did have the Carson goals here, but I did mention that they were both crosses. So what did you see on the crosses that were coming in, especially late, right, with Cuevas? We did see the save also from Lloris. I looked at the guy to my left and I'm like, man, they're going to score. Watch this. And they did. But how were you feeling in that last kind of sequence of goals for them?
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of fell apart, and it was falling apart. And then, I suppose this is the time to get into the Eddie Segura incident because
we got video of that. So if you want to do that, we'll show the video. But But
I guess it's really all part of the same. And I think more of what it was it was just a breakdown of mentality, and it was a breakdown of discipline. And I think for whatever reason, like our team just their heads left the game, and they weren't paying attention to what was going on. Just all the little details and the big details. That team just looked like they checked out, and I have no idea why. And I won't have an answer. I can only speculate. But I
think you nailed it, bro. Like when you said about what you said about Delgado, I am 137% in with you. When he left, the midfield died, and there was no replacement for that. And Igor was just running around like a madman.
76 minutes. He left with 76 minutes.
76 minutes, and after that, it was just an intense pressure from the other team. Like, and LAC could not breathe.
We looked like a bunch of chickens with our heads cut off, and
I was just no, this cannot be happening.
And right? we couldn't hold the ball. Like we would get the ball and we give it right back, and we give it right back, and we give it right back, and it was not sustainable. And the other thing is that, I mean, the 67th minute we were up by 3. He comes out, Delgado comes out 7 minutes later. And what we did not do is we didn't slow the game down at all. When they would get the ball, there was not really any tactical fouls. Like this is the point where our players should have been shithousing.
Yes.
Our players should have been forcing the Carson players to fight them. But instead,
Fagundes had so much space. I'm like, why are you giving Diego Fagundes that much space to advance the ball? His progressive stats were off the hook against LAFC in a very limited amount of time.
Yeah,
you let Diego Fagundes beat you.
At the end of the day, they just need to close this game. They've struggled closing out games, and they don't engage in total war. Whether it's they need to get chippy with guys, they need to get in other guy's head, they need to do the tactical fouls, and like I said, they should be provoking the Carson players into red cards, not getting provoked into red cards. When you're ahead, that's not how it works. When you're ahead, you provoke the other team. The other team's trying to catch up. Like when you have the lead, you don't get provoked like that. And it's true what Cherundolo said. That was a dirty tackle on Martinez. 100% dirty tackle.
Dirty.
But you just, regardless of how dirty it is, you can't go and get kicked out of a game for that. It's totally unacceptable, and everything fell apart. Like I said, we were basically just chasing shadows at that point, and it was so disorganized, and it's a team game, and they stopped playing like a team basically.
Yeah, very sad to watch. If you were there, it was palpable. It was in the air. We've seen this before. It kind of felt like the Monterrey game at the Rose Bowl. It kind of felt like the Messi game earlier in the year. When LAFC gets in this, I would call it the head of negativity, they just seem stuck in it, and they can't rebound from what was a tough moment in the game. But all you had to do is put him away. Like, all you got to do is pass the ball 3 more times to the left. If that possession is 60-40, not 65-35, 68-38, 28, how it was, you know what I mean? You would have a chance. You would have closed that game much easier.
Yeah.
And look, they almost scored, and Lloris freaking saved our asses, right? It must be really frustrating for him, right, to see the team fall apart like that after, what was a really good, strong game. And then he's like, okay, I got you guys. It's what you want from the good goalkeeper. He's going to save your ass once because your defense is tired. And then you still do it again.
Oh, man.
Very naive, bro.
He's
very naive.
He's probably at this point counting the days to his retirement.
I hope not. I hope he sticks around.
Me too.
Chiellini was such an example of a story of a guy that comes in, likes the system, gets ingrained into it, and wants to grow it. I think Hugo Lloris can be just a guy like that. Come in, be a part of this. Stay for a while. Oka will have to leave at some point. Maybe you're the next goalkeeper developer here, just like Chiellini did. Do not let that man walk out. You talk about leadership not being in this building. I disagree with that statement. So long as Hugo Lloris is there, our captain now is our captain, and I believe in Hugo Lloris. And let's see if he stays at least one more season.
Yeah, he should be.
No, he is. No, he is. He is. I mean, he is because Long's out, and then he's a de facto captain, right? So, but then at the end of the game, all the team had to do is hold its own. But as we remember, we had this dirty foul happen, and everyone rushes, and Diego Fagundes and David Martinez start getting into it. And let's see the video. What's going on? I got a chance to film. It's only 26 seconds, but let's watch this real quick. That was Lloris. That was Lloris. Like, hey, how about we just try to play ball because we're winning this game, and we just cost ourselves a fucking yellow that didn't have to happen. Eddie Segura had absolutely nothing to do with this play. It was not his fight. So yeah, I understand the frustration from Eddie. You know what I mean? But I'm sorry, man. Your name is Steady fucking Eddie. Right? Like, you should not be rushing Diego Fagundes, probably the most annoying player in Major League Soccer. Eddie fell for his fucking antics, and here we are talking about the fact that LAFC had to play the last 2 minutes down a man, and the rest is history, bro. Like 3-3 tie.
No, it was
center back scoring, which means their center back was in our box trying to score. What a hustle. I have to give it to Greg Vanney. Getting beaten every week. The laugh of the league. And those guys never quit on him.
Yeah, but look,
they are down with that man. And I wonder sometimes if they're down with our coach.
I mean, when you have a one-man advantage like that and you're chasing a game, like, yes, unless you pull a center back for an attacker, like, you push your center back up there. And looking at our personnel at that time, without long, like, Tafari is our only aerial threat we have in that entire field. So of course you start putting the big boys up in the box, and you just start throwing it in there to them. I mean, this is basic ugly soccer. It's so obvious. But getting that position, and like you said with Eddie, he hadn't anything to do with the play for sure. But if you it was a nasty tackle on Martinez from behind. Like, that should have been an instant card for Fagundes right there, which didn't come up. So of course the players want to defend their guy, but they went a little too far. I mean, what you need to do with that, and what Martinez also didn't do, is Martinez needs to stay down and eat the clock. Like when you're up and you're salting a game away, and somebody hard tackles you, like you don't get up, And if a foul like that, like man, you park your ass on the ground and you let that clock burn, And that's also something that didn't happen with this game, which to me is just all around. Like I said, in a important game, which a derby is an important game, the winner always shit houses. And Celso, you watch so much Brasileiro, like when those guys have a 1-goal lead, the antics that they do when you get down to the last 10 minutes are like, you can find gifs all over the internet, like the stupidest things.
It's almost unwatchable, but you gotta have a little more maturity in those moments, and I think guys like Artem, guys like Frankie, that's where I don't see it yet, right? I mean, we brought these guys not very long, and I'm not putting it on them.
I mean, these guys are just
test these newbies to close the game against a thorny opponent that has nothing to play for other than that game. Yeah, it's their Super Bowl. It reminds me a lot of Michigan playing Ohio State. And again, I'm a huge Ohio State fan. I watch college ball a lot. And to me, it was very similar. Michigan comes in, they're all pissed off. They have nothing to play for. They're having a shitty season. Ohio State's getting all the praise. Everybody's talking about us. And then they come in and beat Ohio State in their house, right? We didn't get beat, but it felt like a loss. And it felt to me a lot of those parallels of a team that just sat there and thought they were going to get away with something and just easily win, and it didn't, right? A lot of things can be said about this game, but as Cherundolo said, it's just 3 points, buddy. It's just 3 points. We got to move on because guess what? Portland's coming to town Friday, my man, and we have to talk a little bit about that game. I'm going to put the standings here, and I put this up earlier on my Twitter, just talking a little bit about LAFC lost the chance to basically stay in the fourth place. We got leapfrogged by Seattle, which won the game. So it seems like that 4 and 5 spot is really where it's going to happen, like between us and Seattle for a little while. But if we lose to Portland, right, hypothetically, Portland goes to 37, passes us. So LAFC is now 6th, and we are 10 away from San Diego, right? So you could tell that the situation of LAFC is good, but it's definitely not great. So how do you feel we are going into this mini break, Leagues Cup coming up? We got one game to go. How do you feel about the standings, and where do you think we're going to end up based on where we are today?
Oh, man. I mean,
we got 14 games to go. And so, and San Diego is still coming. But, again, it's 14 games, and you're 3 out of the first place. So a lot of people think LAFC is going to finish up in the third place, for example, right? Which, would basically close the gap with Minnesota.
I think we're probably going to be somewhere in between 4th and 6th. I think 5th right now is going to be probably pretty close to where we finish, especially losing Long for the whole season. Now, again, we've been beating this one, but we have a lame duck coach. So what kind of players are coming in this transfer window? It doesn't seem like we're going to make any really big splashy moves here.
Type players,
and honestly, if we do, if we see 2 DPs come in that we're like, these are 3-year players, to me, that's going to tip our hand off that we're probably going to be promoting internally on a coach again if they're going to go for some big players. Because otherwise, do you, without knowing who your future coach is, do you start really selecting personnel that may or may not work with his lineup, especially with the whole Olivier Giroud learning lesson that hopefully JT just had, that you really got to select players based on how you're going to play the ball. So that's that. Looking at Portland and this matchup is it's gonna be a tricky one. I mean, we'll see Max Crepeau again. It's always nice to see him. And but Portland just played Minnesota to a 1-1 draw. They're not a bad team. And we're without Long, so our back line is going to be an absolute mess this next game because Segura is suspended, which means that
I just thought about that. We're fucked.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be Tafari It's probably going to
Tafari and
be
Palencia are going to be the center
Tafari,
backs.
Palencia,
Hollingshead is going to
Smoliakov,
play.
and Hollingshead. You know
And
what I mean?
Smoliakov.
That's yeah, it's Smoliakov on the left.
There's no three
the rest of
backs.
the team's going to be the same.
We don't have a
it's
third
just one
center
guy.
back. Yeah, we don't have a third center back for this game, so it's going to be a 4-3-3. It has to be.
Yeah, which is the team that, again, you should be able to beat this team. Like, it's Portland, you're at home, you have better depth, and, you know, they're not a stellar team, but it's also a team that's been giving us issues the last time we played them, especially offensively, and they are a good offensive team. But they get scored a lot too. So I could see being another one of those 2-2 games, how we've had with these guys in the last few. Remember the last game was very controversial also with Cherundolo getting the red card, I believe, at Providence Park. So there might be, you know, more of that drama, more of that high electricity between these two regional opponents and rivals to an extent, right? I think Portland always kind of gives it to us a little bit more than some of the other teams because of that rivalry. Yeah, man. I mean, look, what about San Diego? Just quickly, what you think of them? You know, are they for real? Every expansion team comes in hot. You know, it reminds me a lot of LAFC that first year. Do you think they're gonna keep hot like that? I'm just curious what you think of them so far. And what they've done with the an expansion roster, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're really more. I mean, I think St. Louis is almost who they need to get compared more with because their opening season, I mean, they were on fire.
That's true.
And, you know, we were LAFC, our opening season was pretty good, but we were more like we kind of flirted around. I don't think we ever sat at first place for this amount of time. Like San Diego's, well, I guess they haven't
not until 19, but yes, absolutely, yeah.
But they look like they could stay in that place. I honestly haven't watched a ton of San Diego games.
Yeah, me either.
But it seems like whatever they're doing, the personnel along with the coach, like they've gotten that right. And I think that's something looking back with LAFC when they started with Carlos Vela and they started with Bob Bradley, and they really kind of built a team around what Bradley liked to do. And I think with San Diego, it was kind of the same thing. They got their coach, and they started building the team around what he liked to do. And now they have what they have. So it's a testament in a salary cap league that getting your personnel correct around a coach that's going to utilize those personnel to their best, and you don't end up with square pegs trying to fit into round holes, is really the formula for success.
Yeah, so right. As far as the Timbers go, so just going back to that, what they're gonna bring is probably a very strong defensive team to LAFC and try to exploit the counter strikes, which seem to not be our forte. But yeah, just switching back to the game, what is your expectation of how the team's gonna play? I'm gonna put up their last starting 12 right now, starting 11 right now, so we can take a look at that. But, what's your expectation for how this game's going to go from a pace standpoint? And, just tell me what the result you think is going to be, what the final score is going to be, Eric.
Oh, man.
So let's start with, this is how the game's going to go.
Well, I think what Portland is going to try to do, they have, Kelsey.
Here it is. This is their last lineup.
No, Kelsey.
Kripo, Mosquera, they got Zuparic. Lassiter, they got Mara up front. And just Kelsey comes off the bench at times. And Omir Fernandez, scored in the last goal against St. Louis. He was with the Red Bulls and is now at Portland. So it's like kind of like a new look team. With a couple of guys out, but like Shara is off the bench too.
Yeah, Kelsey I know started against Salt Lake, and he's a big boy. He's a 6'4" Venezuelan number 9, a big strong guy. He played for Shakhtar before, so he's. I think if Portland doesn't start him in this game, they're crazy because Portland has always liked to cross the ball, especially those. They like to put in those early crosses. And if you have a big target guy, I mean, look, our center backs are going to be Sergio Palencia, who's 5'9", And then you're going to have
on a good day.
yeah, and then you have Tafari, who's about 6 foot, 6'1". Like he's a little more physical guy, but
he moves very loosely.
Yeah,
like a
he's
yogi.
got positioning issues a lot, and so this is a game where not having long is going to hurt us, and then not having Segura is going to hurt us. So I think if I'm Portland, I basically throw him into the box and I just start lumping crosses in there because we're going to have a hard time defending it. We already saw Smolyakov has trouble closing down the wide spaces, and if we have Hollingshead on the right side. It's not his normal position, so shutting down the crossing opportunities, I think, is going to be difficult for us. So that's that. On LAFC side, we need to really focus again on holding possession here at this game and not giving them the counterattacking chances, and just kind of work the ball, hold the ball, and just see if we can just sneak a goal or two and move on from it. I really think we need to play this game very conservatively because of who we're missing.
Yeah, we're missing a lot suddenly. We're not very deep. A couple of things you said earlier that I just wanted to say. First off, I don't think we have to do anything different this particular window because Cherundolo announced his departure. I think this particular window, we should go out and get the best players that we feel fit the roster, period, regardless of who's coming. But it should be high-caliber players that we feel want to stay here and develop with the club. Whoever that is, how much it costs, but you gotta find guys that are not one-trick ponies. So I do believe we can still make this roster better and and help Cherundolo get another title for LAFC. All of us want another title, right? Nobody does not want to win another title. So if we can do that this year, I disagree with the lame duck coach comment because as far as I understand, he's going to continue in there. And yeah, it's not always pretty, but if we win more than we lose, we're going to make it to the playoffs, and we still have 2 titles on the line. So I do believe we should go hard in this window. You don't agree with me? I mean, if Raheem Sterling, I know Gio Reyna's not coming, but if some of these guys want to come, right, you should be able to bring them. And you should be, and whoever's coming to coach, if you have a problem with this player, then maybe he's not your guy, right? But
yeah,
if the player's right. If Pedro wants to play for us, like we talked about him last week, and Flamengo's willing to give it to us, why not? Why would we not want to have the player? You know what I mean? I think players make the squad, not the other way around. So,
100%, 100%.
It's tough, man.
No,
I just want the team not to suck for 6 months because Dolo's leaving. I don't think that's how this team rolls.
They don't suck. I mean, look, again, like we have a lot of great youth on this team. Like we're not a bad team, but it's not like we're not really cup contenders either. You can't look at this team right now and say, "Oh yeah, like we're going to be challenging for the top of the West, and we should be favorites to get to the cup or win the cup." Like I think it's way too wide open right now to really see a horse pulling ahead. And, my money is that we're not going to be the horse that pulls ahead on this. But with that said, but we have Ordazur developing, so we have a really dangerous 9. We still have Bouanga, if he doesn't go to Mexico. And as far as this window, opportunistic signings, we always do that. Like if you get a really good player that you can get over here and you're not busting the bank on it, like, of course you're going to take that, and you figure out how to piece it around them later. Do you like?
We're missing that piece. Like, if you look at Emil Forsberg and what he's done to the Red Bull, right? He's changed the identity of that team. He's brought stability. He's gone to the finals. Thomas is not the right player, I think.
I agree with you on that, but there's people that'll disagree with that. I don't like the prospect of him coming over at all, especially because when it first came out, that he felt like he wasn't getting paid enough. And right there for me, I'm like, well, fuck that, because this is LA. And if your retired ass wants to keep playing soccer, like you're not coming here for a king's ransom. Like you can go to fucking, I don't know, some other.
Well, some teams should pay him. I think it would help the league. It doesn't have
not
to
LA,
be LAFC in Miami every time, and that's where the league,
go play for the fucking
I think, is
Revs.
failing. Go play for the Fire. I think he would do really well in a place like
He
Chicago.
would do good. He would
Chicago
do good
needs
at the Fire.
he needs a key player. But
Although
like, I think
Schweinsteiger didn't do good at the Fire.
yeah, exactly. And then, like, I think these franchises are now thinking and looking back, oh, we brought Bernardeschi and, like, we brought these guys, and they just become unhappy, and the team loses, and they never lost in their lives because they always played for fucking Bayern, which, cannot be contested outside of Germany or inside of Germany. So, like, of course you're going to get frustrated if you get fucking losing every week because your team is, not super normal or whatever.
Hey,
like it's not a super team compared to like the other teams.
Yeah.
So
100%. I just
Bayern won like 20 out of the 21 like last like Bundesligas or something stupid. I mean, like man.
I only wanted to use Muller as an example of like a player you don't chase. And I think that's the thing for this window. I don't want to see LA chase a player like we chase Griezmann, like we chase anybody. It's like if you look at the
I'm talking real guys, man.
Here,
I'm talking like Pedro Vite. Like I'm talking guys that make other teams better but need a place to grow. I'm talking dudes from the inside up, not these bullshit billboard selling guys that come in here. And of course you're gonna sell a lot of jerseys. I saw a ton of Giroud jerseys. I mean, if I'm the team, I'm giving back everyone the money that they spend on a Giroud custom. Like you have to be able to change that name. That has to be the promotion where you change the name of the jersey because it's an insult to have Giroud in the back of a jersey that costs $150. I think that's just wrong. You know what I mean? It is not cool. So LAFC does need to find that key player, that key guy, a key voice, the next Carlos Vela, the player that people rally behind it and becomes the face of the franchise, especially if we're about to deal Denis Bouanga to Club America, a team that we're probably going to see twice a year between Leagues Cup and CCL and all the shit. We're going to see Denis Bouanga play against us.
We'll keep beating them.
It's insane, man. It's insane, buddy.
Yeah.
So, did you give me a score prediction for Portland?
No. All right.
So Friday night game, Friday Night Lights. I should be there covering this one as well. Love Friday games. I think it's fun. But a little bit unorthodox to have the game on Friday. I wonder what the stands are gonna look like, especially after the massive egg drop that we just did here against Carson. But come on, buddy. Enough beating around the bush here. Tell me what we're
one
gonna
more beat around the bush. I'll agree with Juan in the chat that Raul Jimenez. I wouldn't mind seeing him in black and gold. I think that would be a great signing for us.
Who is this?
Raul Jimenez. It's in the chat.
Oh, Jimenez. Yes. I think if we were able to bring in a key Mexican player,
he'd be the very
puts it all together.
Top of the list. Very top of the list for me. Whether we can, who knows? So all right, score. I'm gonna predict a 2-0 LAFC win. Only because it'll leave us scratching our heads, wondering what the fuck is with this team. They're so inconsistent that you can't really predict anything. They will beat Minnesota 1-0, and then they'll blow a two goal lead twice against Carson to go home with a draw. It's just going to leave us with more questions than answers. So, Murphy's Law, we're winning 2-0 against Portland.
Wow, I love it. I love your confidence, despite being down to what I don't even know who the backup center back's going to be. We signed some kid. I was on the website prepping, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And I guess we have such a hole in the center back position that we had to pick up some kid. Josh Santiago rings a bell. Know nothing about the player, but he is now on a short-term loan agreement with LAFC. And I did see a kid. He looked extremely young. No idea who he was walking around on the bench there. So
is he
probably an LAFC 2 guy?
Yeah, I would say he's LAFC 2.
Yeah, I don't know anything about LAFC 2, but Santiago is now on the roster, which tells you the state of our defensive core here. All right, Eric, 2-0 for you. I mean, look, I'm not gonna be Debbie Downer again. Since I called the loss, I actually called everything wrong this weekend. I called it like it's gonna be a 1-0 win for LAFC against Carson. I was all over the place this week in my predictions. So this week I'm just going with a classic 2-1 LAFC win. We let one in at the account of our ridiculous backs, but we do get the win against a very unstable Portland team, especially on the road. So I do believe LAFC is going to keep winning. Probably end up in third place or so, maybe fourth if we are we keep being unstable, I guess. The schedule has some breaks, but there's a lot of East Coast trips. Like we're gonna go to Chicago. You and I are thinking about meeting up in Dallas, which should be fun. There's the Revolution trip as well to Boston, so LAFC is gonna be in the East Coast a lot to end the season. And of course, we got
Austin
coming up.
Reschedule October 8th, I think, as well.
Reschedule Austin game in Texas, which it's always a fun game to go to. Maybe you go to that one as well, hey?
No, I think so. I'm going to try to make that. October is going to be very pleasant weather for Texas as well.
Yeah, it should be great. So a lot coming. We're going to be here every week. I believe this is the 20th or 21st show. So really cool. Every week we are getting more followers, more subscribers on YouTube.
Thank you, everybody.
And we appreciate that. We started a new segment called Brasileirão USA, where we talk a little bit about the Brazilian league. This week we talked about Denis Bouanga earlier in the show and how he would fit some of the rosters in Brazil. So we typically cut that segment and put it on its own so that you can consume that separately from the pod. But if you're into the Brazilian league, very good way to start kind of getting acquainted with the teams, the players, the derbies. We didn't say anything, but São Paulo did beat Corinthians 2-0. Hey, Timão, vai tomar no cu. And it's always good to beat your rival. And LAFC should be
nobody
watching
likes
this.
Corinthians in Sao Paulo.
Nobody likes to lose to your rival, and nobody likes to lose to your rival at home. And with that, I think it's a good way to end our show, Eric. Unfortunately, like Cherundolo said, we got out of this one with 1 point instead of 3. But the fun of Trafico, dude, always there. Cannot dispute this game being the most electrifying game in all Major League Soccer. Am I right? Am I wrong? Screw Messi, man. I'm sorry. You have an anomaly. We have something consistent that no matter who's in that field, it could be Brian Rodriguez, it could be Ilya Sench, it could be Ricky Pucci, and we always bring a spectacle to whoever is watching.
Man, I just want a boring-ass LAFC beatdown of Carson. Like, this is way too much stress, and I just want a fucking beat down. Like, why can't we just beat them 4-0 and just go ha? That's what I want.
Not in this lifetime, apparently, or at least not in the Dolo lifetime, or not this
Wish
season.
one hand,
done, right?
shit in the other.
No more Carson games, right? Yeah, this was it. Is this?
Unless we meet them in Leagues Cup or the playoffs.
Or playoffs, which probably will happen knowing.
Playoffs probably will not happen. They're not making the playoffs.
That's true. But,
Leagues
Cup,
Cup,
guys. This is it. Thank you so much for everybody that watched. I think we're going to end with the goals, but we appreciate it. Every Monday at 6 p.m. we're here.
Thank you, commenters. Good to see you all in the chat.
Yes, everybody in the chat, you guys are crushing it. Denise, appreciate you being here and all the comments in there.
Nick,
and
Juan,
just do yourself a
Henry.
favor. Don't take Twitter so serious. It
Dodger
is a
Gus
place
showed up
for 90% reality and 10% bullshit. So take it like that. Don't be that guy that gets mad on Twitter. No one likes you like that. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you next Monday. And go LAFC. Let's go, baby.